Hi, I'm Mary, and today I want to share how my life with my husband Aaron took a completely unexpected turn. Our days used to be peaceful, with both of us working from home and enjoying the simple routine we had built. It was just the two of us, comfortable in our rhythm, until one day when Aaron's sister, Karen, arrived at our doorstep with her daughter Teresa. It wasn't unusual for Karen to drop Teresa off for a few hours here and there, but this time was different. This time, it felt like the start of something we weren't quite prepared for. "Hey, I'm swamped today. Can Teresa stay with you?" Karen asked. Her voice hurried as she barely waited for an answer. Before we could respond, she had already placed the stroller inside and dashed off. At first, we didn't mind. Teresa's bright laughter filled our home, a sweet distraction we hadn't known we needed. But what started as a few hours turned into regular, unannounced visits. The stays grew longer, and Karen's drop-offs became more frequent. One evening, as Aaron and I were knee-deep in a deadline for work, Karen called. "I'm heading out of town for a few days. I need to leave Teresa with you," she said, clearly frazzled. "Karen, we're swamped. We've got a huge presentation tomorrow." I began to protest, but she had already hung up. An hour later, Teresa was at our door, fast asleep in her carrier, blissfully unaware of the chaos her mother had just added to our lives. Days passed, then weeks, and Aaron's patience began to fray. "We can't keep living like this. It's not fair to any of us, especially Teresa," he said one night, frustrated as we rearranged our schedules yet again. "I know, we need to talk to Karen. We can't keep doing this without some kind of structure." I agreed, hopeful that we could find a solution. That weekend, over coffee, we tried to have a serious conversation with Karen. "Look, we love Teresa, but we need more notice. We have our own responsibilities, and this isn't working," Aaron said, keeping his tone calm but firm. Yeah, I get it. I'll try to be better about giving you guys a heads up," Karen replied, though her dismissive tone told us she wasn't taking it seriously. Despite the conversation, nothing changed. Karen's empty promises only led to more last-minute calls and even longer stays. The strain on our marriage grew as we struggled to balance work with the unexpected role of part-time parents. But through it all, one thing became clear: our bond with Teresa was growing stronger. Her presence was the one bright spot in the whirlwind of disruption, a small ray of joy in the chaos we were learning to navigate. As the weeks turned into months, I realized that despite the challenges, Teresa had become a part of our family in a way we never expected. But what we didn't see coming was the storm brewing on the horizon, one that would test us in ways we couldn't have imagined. It all started one afternoon as Aaron and I were wrapping up at a conference. My phone buzzed relentlessly with notifications, frantic messages from our neighbor and several missed calls from an unknown number. My heart pounded as I stepped outside to call back. "You need to come home right away. There's a serious situation with Teresa." Our neighbor's shaky voice sent chills down my spine. Aaron and I raced home, our thoughts spinning with worst-case scenarios. As we pulled into our normally quiet street, my stomach sank. Police cars lined the road, and a social services vehicle was parked in front of our house. The scene looked straight out of a nightmare. "What's going on?" "We're Teresa's aunt and uncle," Aaron said, trying to keep calm as we approached one of the officers. "We received a report about a child left alone. Can you explain why Teresa was unsupervised?" the officer asked, his tone firm. Before we could respond, Karen appeared, pushing her way through the small crowd. Her face was a mix of panic and defiance. "This is all a misunderstanding. I just left her for a little bit. They're always home," Karen blurted out, her voice shaking. "Karen, what were you thinking? We told you we were at a conference." I tried to keep my anger in check, but it was nearly impossible. The social worker on site stepped forward, her expression serious. "We need to clarify what happened here. It seems like there's been neglect." "No, you don't understand," Aaron jumped in. "Teresa isn't our child." Karen dropped her off without telling us. "We had no idea she was coming today." The social worker scribbled notes as the officers huddled together. Karen stood nearby, nervously shifting from foot to foot, her bravado rapidly fading. "Look, we care for Teresa often, but today was not planned." Karen knew we had important commitments. I explained, hoping to clear up the confusion. The officer nodded, but his expression remained stern. "We'll need to verify everything. For now, Our priority is Teresa's safety. I glanced over to see Teresa, who was being gently held by another officer. Her little face was filled with confusion and fear, and the sight of her so vulnerable made my heart ache. After hours of questions and phone calls, the immediate crisis subsided. The officers and social worker left, but not before warning us that there would be follow-ups. Karen mumbled a half-hearted apology before slipping away, leaving behind the weight of the day's events. I can't believe she just left Teresa like that. What if something had happened? Aaron's voice was heavy with worry as we sat down later that night. We can't keep going like this, Aaron. Teresa could have been in real danger. Something has to change, I said, my mind racing with the implications. You're right. We need to protect her. And ourselves too. We can't keep living in this uncertainty. Aaron's usual calm was replaced with a newfound determination. The next week, we met with a family lawyer to discuss our options. We've been caring for Teresa more and more, and we're considering fostering or even adoption if that's what's best for her, Aaron said, his voice steady. The lawyer nodded, sorting through paperwork. Fostering is definitely a possibility, but it's a formal process. You'll need to go through home visits, background checks, and several court dates. We're ready for that, I replied, a sense of resolve settling in. The thought of Teresa being anywhere but safe was unbearable. As the legal process began, Karen's visits became sporadic, her personal struggles piling up. When she did come by, the tension between us was palpable. Why are you doing this? You're trying to take my daughter from me, Karen accused during one of her increasingly rare visits, her voice thick with frustration. It's not about taking anyone, Karen. It's about what's best for Teresa, Aaron said, his tone firm but calm. You're her mother, but you've been unreliable. We never know when you'll drop her off or when you'll come back. Karen looked away, her defiance faltering. I'll get better, I just need time. But deep down, we all knew that Teresa needed more than empty promises. She needed stability, and Aaron and I were ready to give her that, no matter how long the road ahead would be. I'm her mother. You think you can do this better than me? Karen's voice cracked, a mix of anger and desperation. We're doing this because we have to. Karen, someone has to provide stability for Teresa, I said softly, hoping my words would ease the blow. The legal process dragged on, slow and exhausting. Teresa became more attached to us with each passing day. Her life with us a steady routine compared to her mother's sporadic appearances. Every court hearing, every visit from social services felt like stepping into a battle, fighting to give Teresa the normal life she deserved. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, we've observed Teresa's interaction with you both. It's clear she sees you as her primary caregivers, the social worker noted during one visit, jotting down notes as Teresa played quietly at my feet. We just want what's best for her, Aaron said, and I squeezed his hand, grateful for his unwavering support. As the court date to decide Teresa's future loomed, Karen's behavior became more erratic. One evening, she called, her voice frantic. You can't take her from me. I'll fight you, she warned. We don't want to fight, Karen. We want Teresa to have a stable home. Why can't you see that this is about more than any of us? I tried to reason with her, but my words seemed to fall on deaf ears. The day of the ruling arrived, and we sat in the courtroom, hands tightly clasped, the weight of the past months hanging heavy in the air. Karen sat across from us, looking exhausted and defeated. The court has decided to grant temporary custody to Mary Ann Aaron Smith, with the possibility of moving toward adoption if conditions do not improve for the biological mother, the judge declared, his voice calm but final. Relief washed over me, though it was laced with sadness for Karen. As we left the courthouse, Karen approached us, her expression softer than I'd seen in a long time. Take good care of her, that's all I ask, she said quietly, her voice resigned. We will, Karen, we promise, Aaron replied, his tone full of compassion. As we drove home, the sun was setting in shades of orange and red, casting a warm glow over everything. I glanced at Teresa in the rearview mirror, her eyes fluttering with sleep but content. The road ahead would be long, and undoubtedly difficult, but as long as Teresa was with us, it felt right. Her laughter, a sound that had become as vital as air, filled the car, and in that moment, I knew we had made the right decision, no matter how hard it had been to get here. Let's get this room ready for Teresa, She deserves a space of her own, Aaron said as we stood in the guest room, now destined to be transformed into Teresa's nursery. Paint swatches and fabric samples were scattered on the floor, a colorful mix of possibilities. I think she'd love this sunshine yellow, I suggested, holding up a cheerful swatch. It's bright and happy, just like her. Aaron smiled, and we set to work, painting walls, assembling furniture, and decorating the room with playful decals. As we worked, our conversations often circled back to Karen, how we could help maintain a relationship between her and Teresa. Despite everything, we knew it was important for Teresa to stay connected to her mother. Even if our home would now be where she found her sense of belonging, it's important for Teresa to know her mother, no matter what's happened, I said, smoothing a decal onto the wall. Absolutely. I'll reach out to the social worker and set up a schedule for supervised visits. It needs to be structured and safe, Aaron agreed, his voice steady and thoughtful. The first supervised visit was scheduled for the following week at a local park. When Karen arrived, she looked nervous but hopeful. Teresa ran toward her, giggling as she flung herself into her mother's arms. "It's so good to see you, Teresa," Karen whispered, hugging her tightly. "I've missed you so much." "We've set some ground rules, Karen. It's important that these visits remain positive for Teresa," I said gently, watching them. "I understand. I don't want to cause any more trouble. I just want to be a part of her life, even if it has to be like this," Karen replied, avoiding my gaze. As Teresa and Karen played together, Aaron and I talked about our next steps. We should keep these visits regular, but always supervised. Maybe down the line, we can revisit the terms, I suggested, watching as Teresa's laughter filled the park. "Let's see how things go first. We can adjust if Karen continues to show progress," Aaron replied, ever cautious. Over the next few months, the visits became a regular part of our lives. Karen seemed more grounded, her interactions with Teresa growing more natural, though the weight of past events still hovered as a reminder of the boundaries in place. During one visit, Karen appeared more upbeat than usual. "I've been taking some classes," she shared during a quiet moment. "I'm trying to get a better job. I want to be someone Teresa can be proud of." "That's great, Karen. It's important for Teresa to see you working on yourself," I replied, feeling a cautious sense of hope. As time passed, Aaron and I began to reassess the situation. "Do you think we should give Karen a little more flexibility with the visits?" I asked one evening, reflecting on her progress. "Maybe," Aaron said, thoughtful as always. "Let's talk to the social worker first. Karen's been doing well, but we should make sure it's the right time before relaxing the rules." With every step, whether decorating Teresa's room or navigating the complexities of supervised visits, Aaron and I found our rhythm in this new chapter of our lives. The challenges had strengthened us, and Teresa's laughter had become the heart of our home. Every decision, every effort we made, was to protect that joy. As we looked toward the future, cautious yet hopeful, I felt a quiet confidence that we were shaping something beautiful for Teresa, for us, and even for Karen. "Can you believe how fast Teresa is growing up? She's already reading," Aaron said one evening, watching Teresa curled up with a picture book. "It's amazing," I replied, smiling. "She's like a little sponge, soaking up everything." At one of our family barbecues, Karen arrived a bit early to help set up, a sign of how much she had changed over the years. "You know, Aaron, Mary, I can't thank you enough for everything you've done for Teresa. Seeing her so happy and healthy means the world to me," Karen said, handing me a stack of plates to arrange on the table. "We're glad you're here too, Karen. It's been great for Teresa to have you in her life in a way that's healthy for everyone," Aaron replied. "Hey, Mom, look what I drew at school today." Teresa ran over, waving a colorful drawing of our family, with Karen included. "That's beautiful, sweetie. You included everyone," I praised, and Teresa's face lit up with joy. "Yeah, I wanted it to have all the people I love," Teresa said, pointing to each figure she had drawn. As the afternoon faded, Karen joined me at the table, watching Teresa play with her cousins. "She's really thriving with you. I've been going to therapy, working on myself. It's not easy, but seeing Teresa like this makes it worth it." "It sounds like you're making real progress, Karen. I'm glad to hear that," I said, genuinely happy for her efforts. "Yeah, I just wish I'd sought help sooner, but I guess we all come to things in our own time. Karen reflected, her voice tinged with regret but also hope. As Teresa's birthday approached, I felt a profound sense of fulfillment. Aaron and I had taken on roles we never expected, but now, I couldn't imagine our lives any other way. We had created a family not just by blood, but through choice, love, and patience. Watching our little girl laugh and grow, surrounded by a tapestry of love and resilience, I knew we had achieved something truly wonderful. Now that our story has come to a close, I'd like to pose a thought-provoking question to all of you. Do you think Karen should have been given a chance to be more involved in Teresa's life earlier, given her efforts to improve herself? Or did Mary and Aaron make the right choice by waiting until she demonstrated her stability? This touches on themes of redemption and trust, and I'm eager to hear your thoughts in the comments below. How would you balance a child's well-being with the rights of a parent trying to turn their life around? If you enjoyed this story and the discussion it prompted, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Your engagement helps us continue sharing these stories.